Well, hello, 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 fellow addicts. Welcome back to Addicts Live, your internet escape from the craziness in the world. I'm Alissa, your resident head addict, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host to the north-ish, Super Safi.
Yeah, over up in the Northwest this time in Calgary, Alberta. So yeah, happy
That's why it's
Saturday.
sunny behind him.
Hey,
And as Go
Saturday
ahead.
morning. Of course, it's sunny.
Exactly. Yes, the Addicts Crew is back once again to bring you Simpsons news and Saturday smiles. And as always, everybody's favorite reminder, before we get into this week's show, it is time for your weekly reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that red button so you don't miss any of the addicts. And as always, for those not watching this directly on YouTube, I will put a link to the subscribe button in the show notes below us. Let's get on with the show, shall we, Saf?
Sure.
It's like a massive tongue twister. Shall we, Saf? You can, just don't start selling seashells by the seashore. So while we've got this week of downtime going in TSTO, because we think EA will stay on schedule and still release the next bigger event next week, Saf and I thought it would be a good time to take a few moments, and discuss the last few episodes of season 32 that we haven't covered since Burger King's. So we'll take a look at season 32 as a whole as well and kind of rank where we think each episode lies, or what we think are our top favorite episodes. But first, let's talk about the final 4 episodes of season 32 that we didn't cover yet. They are Panic on the Streets of Springfield, Mother and Child Reunion, The Man from G.R.A.M.P.A, Grandpa, and The Last Bar Fighter. So we'll start with Panic on the Streets of Springfield. So this is the first of the 4. We'll kind of go, in chronological order. So here's the synopsis on this one from Fox. Lisa gets an imaginary friend who makes her feel much better about her friends. Meanwhile, Homer gets a vehicle with awesome torque. So Saf, any thoughts on this one?
Of the 4, this was my least favorite episode. It was kind of a meh episode in general for the whole season. It was a little bit of a polarizing episode too. Morrissey criticized the episode and was threatening a lawsuit too, because the character was actually kind of a spoof of him. So it was a meh episode in my opinion. Definitely not one of the stronger episodes. I put in the bottom third of all the episodes we had this season. How about you?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, it was an episode of The Simpsons that you had to sit and watch, kind of a thing. Like nothing really was like, wow, that was a great episode. I feel like they've done this story before. A couple things did stand out to me, though. In the beginning, I had a really hard time getting past Dr. Hibbert's voice. It was very noticeable, the voice change, the actor change in this one. I didn't notice it as much in previous episodes, like Wad Goals, I think was the first one where they actually made the change, and it wasn't as noticeable. But this one was so noticeable. It actually felt like Dr. Hibbert was talking with a mouthful of marbles, and it was so distracting. It just was weird. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but like I said, it sounded like he was just talking with a mouthful of marbles, and that I think is what, more than like the voice sounding different, that's really what distracted me. So it was just odd. And I love the scenes with Homer and his truck to combat his low T. I feel like I know a lot of people who've done something similar, and they've suddenly become truck people. They just think they know everything about trucks, even though, they just drive them on a highway. They don't actually do anything that a truck does. So I thought that was funny. And Lisa eats bacon in this episode.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal because I don't think she's had meat since Paul McCartney episode. So she eats bacon, not intentionally. It was an accident. But it was pretty interesting to see. She definitely had a weird reaction to bacon because bacon is delicious. And the only other thing I thought was really funny was when they're at the concert and Quillaby is there, and Lisa has this image of Quillaby as like this young, hot stud guy. And because it's been 30 years, he's like now an old, fat, washed up rocker who now eats meat, even though he was originally vegan. So I thought that little play was really funny. But other than that, it was pretty lame. So next up, let's talk about mother and child reunion. This is the second one of the 4 we'll talk about. So here's a synopsis from Fox. Lisa makes a shocking college decision, wounding Marge. It leads to a very surprising place. That's it. That's the whole synopsis. I love these. Saf, thoughts on this one?
I liked this episode. It was had a lot of funny moments, some political moments, some future moments. Funny how the whole story starts off. I mean, we're talking about Homer and Bart and their whole dynamic, and the fortune teller kind of tells us all about the Lisa Marge relationship. Seeing Lisa not opt not to go to college was interesting. I mean, it's very different from everything we kind of know or think we know of Lisa. And then Homer's response to it was hilarious too, about how she won't have the debt that everyone coming out of college has, and how Lisa succeeds, and Bart also succeeds in his own rights with his marijuana business too. So overall, I was a real big fan of this episode. How about you?
So, you guys watching, if you've been following Addicts for a while, you know that I love, love, love future episodes. They are some of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons. Not my favorite, that still remains Homer at the bat. It always will. But I really love future episodes because we get this glimpse into a look of how, The Simpsons will be when they grow up. And I love, there really isn't a future episode that I don't like. So I really enjoyed this. It was a pleasant surprise because I really wasn't expecting it to be a future episode, especially based on
synopsis.
Yeah, it just was like, okay. So I was like pleasantly pleased with this. And I really liked it was the fact that it was a fortune teller, magician turned fortune teller that was giving them the future. It was a really nice throwback to Lisa's wedding episode. So it's really cool that they kind of brought that back. Totally different fortune teller, but it still was neat. Like it was like this neat little callback to that episode from, way back. What was that, season 4 or 5? Like it was in the original 10. Like it was so old, Craig Daniels wrote it. Or Greg Daniels wrote it. So it just was a nice little, I like those little touches. I really do. I also loved that Bart was successful in this version of the future, because most versions of the future, Bart is like a loser. So yeah. I like that he finally found something that was successful. And I like that Lisa took a different path to get there. Listen, I'm going to say something that's kind of controversial. I agree with the sentiment that college can be a total waste of time. Like, unless you're doing something specific where you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a lawyer, like a specific group that you have to be in that you need the education for. Listen, the world doesn't need more programmers. We don't need, people who learn something, because you come out of college with massive debt and no job. So I agreed with this. I really think, and we need, especially in this country, we need more people who will do things with their hands. The areas where are suffering the most shortages in the workforce right now are manufacturing, plumbing, heating and air guys, construction crews. Like, that's what we need in this country. So I really enjoyed that little storyline there. And I've always said, if my kids come to me and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to college, Mom. I'll be like, okay, well, let's see what else you can do. So I like that little twist. There were some great buildings in this that I would like to see in TSTO. I don't know if you saw, Lisa and Bart are having a heart-to-heart conversation in the car, and behind Lisa, you just see them drive by these really great buildings, and I was like, I really want these. They had Luigi Jr.'s, Blockbuster, and then in parentheses, we're back. Bed, Bong, and Beyond, Sears and Robots, Best Buy A1, Bitcoin and Laundromat, Moe's Oxygen, and Soy Dog on a Stick. I would like to see all those buildings in TSTO. I really enjoyed those. But yeah, overall, future episode, great episode. It wasn't my favorite out of the 4, but it was right there. So on to everything else you want to talk about with mother and child?
No. Yeah, I agree.
So on to The Man from G.R.A.M.P.A. Here's the synopsis from Fox on this one. Nice and short again. A British secret agent comes to Springfield in search of a Russian spy. Dun, dun, dun. Saf, thoughts on this one?
Another solid episode. I like this one too. It had a lot of good humor. Nice little play on the Man from Uncle title. Great special guest voices with Julie Andrews and Stephen Fry. I like the whole little espionage thing, Grandpa's cane, and like the whole Homer thinking his father's a spy, and then with all the evidence that Stephen Fry's character is presenting, he's like, "Yeah, you're right, he's a spy," and then he's going to turn him in, but then he decides to change his mind, and then Grandpa's explanations justifying why everything happened and why he's not a spy. So, and then learning why Stephen Fry's character thought he was a spy. From start to end, it was a really good episode. There wasn't any dull points in the episode. Every act had some entertaining moments in it, so I really enjoyed this episode. How about you?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I'm a little different than you because I did start to lose interest in it at various points, just because I was like, how many times are we going to have this same, like, misunderstanding storyline? But, you know, it's like, how many times is Homer going to realize, oh, my dad's not a complete jerk? You know, like, I feel like they make up at least once a season. So it was good, though. Like, it wasn't, I definitely like this one more than Panic on the Streets of Springfield. It just, I don't know. I'm not into the spy stuff either, so that could be why. But I did like a lot of the like the misinterpretations, like watch him make the swap on the cane and watch him receive this envelope, and like Grandpa singing, "I got my secret envelope." It's like I thought that was all pretty good. So it was fun to see. You know, the thought that Grandpa could be a Russian spy was pretty amusing. And I like that Homer's like, well, he does hate the government and he does think this and that. He goes, so he's basically every other American. And I'm like, yeah, he is. So, but it was, you know, it was a solid episode, but it wasn't, you know, for me, it wasn't anything to write home about, so to speak.
Right.
So finally, we get to the season finale of season 32. And here is, well, that episode is The Last Bar Fighter. And here's the synopsis from Fox on that one. After Mo breaks their most sacred rule, a secret society of bartenders seeks ultimate vengeance on Homer and his friends. Saf, thoughts?
I really liked this episode. Again, we were focused on a non-Simpsons character as the primary, which was kind of a theme this whole season. So that was nice to get a little bit more in-depth look at Mo and at the actual happenings of being a bartender. I've never had a bartender job before, so to see that they have their own secret society and their own secret bar where they tell everyone's secrets to each other.
Spoiler alert, I've been a bartender. There's no secret society. Or at least that's what I want you to think.
And then the punishment for all the barflies because of Mo's betrayal was hilarious, and to see what happens to them as a result of it. I mean, Lenny's body. I'd love to get that skin. Homer's successful career, and then like how they're all about to be punished and be allowed to drink again. It was just start to finish. I really, really liked this episode. It was, I think, one of the stronger episodes of the season.
Yeah, I agree. This was like top notch for this season. I really enjoyed it. This was to me, the best. Well, I have a hard time between this and Mother and Child because I really love future episodes. But to me, I consider them both kind of like the best of this bunch. It was really good. I really enjoyed seeing Mo be like a big shot, because you always just kind of think he's like this gruff, you know, nobody, and having him have that secret society, the Confidential. I was like, first of all, I really want the Confidential in Springfield. I think that'd be awesome. I feel like we could have a total like Stonecutters like event around that. And I also want Barney's mom, because we see Barney's mom in this episode, so I want her in the game. But I really enjoyed kind of getting that glimpse, like you said, that it was an insight into a non-Simpsons character. So I really like exploring that storyline. And I love how Mo just like blurts everyone's secrets out. Like my favorite though was Lenny's like, you don't think you can get a girl because you got spaghetti arms. Lenny's like, who wants to be held by these? So that was pretty funny. But yeah, the punishment for Mo, they get injected with that serum that prevents them from drinking. Again, we see Dr. Hibbert in this episode, and again, his voice was weird. But it was really cool to see how they all became successful when they don't drink. And I really enjoyed Homer, you know, and I liked at the end when they get the opportunity to have the antidote for the serum so they can drink again, how three of them rush right away to drink. They'd rather have booze than these great lives they now have. But Homer's like, you know what? No, I'm going home. And I was like, wow, good for Homer. Like, sober Homer's a good guy. And I also loved how you don't really know how it ends because it cuts off before Homer gets injected, because they try to inject him, like they try to hunt him down and inject him with the antidote. And you don't see them do it. So you really, it's like a cliffhanger. You don't know what happens. I mean, I'm sure by the time season 33 rolls around, Homer's going to be back at the bar again. But it just was like, wow, that's kind of a neat, like, little cliffhanger they left us on. I like that. But yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I would like the sober Homer skin, the sober Barney skin, the sober Lenny skin, and the sober Carl skin. Like, Carl looked like he worked at the Apple store. He looked like Steve Jobs. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. And of course, Barney's mom, definitely want to get her.
Yeah, we need Barney's mom in the game.
A lot of content from this episode.
Yeah, it was a really good one. So let's talk about season 32 as a whole. Saf, overall, from start to finish, what did you think about season 32?
I thought it was one of the better seasons we've had in the past 12, 13 years. Going back to like season 20 and on. I would say it was a really strong episode. There were so many episodes. There were a few misses, like Panic on the Streets of Springfield, I consider a miss. Maybe G.R.A.M.P.A and a few others. But there were several episodes. I know we discussed coming up with like a list of our 5 favorite episodes. I had such a hard time. I had to pick 7. I just like, there's so many good episodes this season. And really, any of these 7 episodes that were in my top 5, 7 episodes in my top 5, any of those 7 episodes really could have been the best episode of a season the past 10, 12 years. They were all really good. And something that was kind of like a central theme of a lot of those 7 episodes is that the central premise of the episode doesn't really revolve around the Simpsons characters. It revolves around some of the peripheral characters and developing backstories around them. So I thought that was a nice, unique take. The writing it's been improving. I mean, I won't say 32 was like far and above. Like 31 was good, 30 was good. Like I feel like it's on an upward trend, but 32 was really like, wow, this is it's back. What do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed season 32. I thought it was one of the better episodes, better seasons in quite a while. I really enjoyed how they took characters and like explored their storylines further. And like we had that with Comic Book Guy, we saw that with Mo. We saw it was really nice to see that, and I really enjoyed that. And it kind of felt like when they started out this season, they weren't sure if they were going to get another season. So they were like, let's do some things. And that's why we thought, like, back, I think when we talked about Dad Feelings Limited, that this might be it. Right. Thankfully, it's not. But I think they were like, let's do some things just in case that we haven't done. Like, let's explore this storyline. Let's explore that storyline. So it was really nice to see that. And then they gave the wrap up to Edna. I really like that one as well. So overall, I thought season 32 was strong. It definitely, like, if you haven't watched The Simpsons because you thought seasons 1 through 10 were the best ever and there's nothing better than that, you missed out, because this was a really good season. I really enjoyed it. I mean, like you said, there were some misses. There were some episodes that I was like, all right. But, I really think overall this is a very solid season. And like you said, so many episodes could have been like the best episode of multiple seasons that it was nice. Like, they were all in one season. So I can't wait to see what 33 brings. I think it's going to be good. I really do. So since you mentioned it, let's talk about our top 5 episodes. And I will tell you, you have 7, I have 6. So neither one of us adhered to the top 5. So why don't you go first? Rank them out.
Well, for my fifth place, I had a three-way tie. In what we just discussed, mother and child reunion with Marge and Lisa. Also, Burger King's, which was a Mr. Bird-centric episode where he develops the veggie burgers. And the road to Cincinnati was really what kicked off, in my opinion, this whole let's talk about the peripheral characters, because the entire episode is just Skinner and Chalmers, and the Simpsons family only shows up after the credits. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I'd never seen that before, and I thought that was a really good episode. All three of these, like I said, I could have been the best episode of season 26 or 27, but this season was so strong that they're fifth place for me. In fourth place, I had Uncut Femmes, which was the whole backstory of Sarah Wiggum. In third place, The Last Bar Fighter, the Mo-centric season finale. In second place, I had Comic Book Guys, The Dad Feelings Limited, which was just a superb episode. I mean, not just the best episode in the category of best episode in the last 12, 15 years, but arguably up there with the first 10 season episodes. And in first place, without a doubt for me, was Diary Queen. The tribute to Edna was just so touching, so emotional. I mean, it's giving me goosebumps right now just thinking about it. Like, yeah, it was one of the best episodes, arguably the top 25 of all time out of the 700 plus episodes of the show. I can't find anything wrong with that episode. How about you? What was your top five?
So my list is similar, also a little different. So in number 5, I have The Last Bar Fighter. And number 4, I have Mother and Child Reunion. And I did that solely because I really love future episodes. And that, to me, just pushed it 4 instead of 5. But really, they're interchangeable to me. Like, Last Bar Fighter could have been number 4, could have been number 5. Both of those episodes were really good to me, and they deserve to be in the top 5 of the season. At number 3, I have 2. I have Uncut Femmes and Manger Things. I know Safi didn't like Manger Things, but I really enjoyed that episode. I liked the callback to their first episode because it was number 700. It was the callback to the very first episode of The Simpsons. I really enjoyed that. I liked as much as I like future stories, I also like past stories. I really like when we drift out of the current timeline. So I really enjoyed this one. And I like how we find out which Flanders son now. I can't remember which one it was. Rod or Todd. Their middle name.
Yeah, their middle name, Todd's middle name.
Yes. So I really enjoyed that. And that's why I liked Manger Things. I know I'm going to defend that. Safi didn't like it. I'm going to defend it. And Uncut Femmes was just a great episode. I really liked the Sarah Wiggum storyline. That was another one of those, let's explore another character that we haven't looked at. And really, Sarah Wiggum hasn't gotten any attention. So I appreciated that one. And it was a nice... it was a really nice kind of surprise as to like what her character's background was. So I really enjoyed that one. At number 2, I have The Dad Feelings Limited. We talked about this. This was a great episode. This one actually really kicked off our Addicts Live breakdowns of episodes. So, but it was really good. I enjoyed Comic Book Guy and Kamiko's little storyline. And at number 1, of course, I have Diary Queen, not Dairy Queen. That was just a great episode. It gave me all the feels. So yeah, I think similar lists, a little different, but similar. We have a couple of reader comments on this, so I'm going to read them real quick. Okay. Essence 1919 says, Panic on the Streets of Springfield. I found it funny. The interaction of Dr. Hibbert and Homer Simpson. I like the scenes with Santa's Little Helper, both adorable and hilarious. Mother and Child Reunion. I find the magic store full of interesting things, like Homer and Marge zombie statue. It's interesting. I didn't like the fight between Marge and Lisa. I don't agree that Lisa would refuse to go to college. I found it funny that Snowball appeared in a flying saucer. It's nice that they followed the storyline from the previous episode where Lisa is president. I found it funny at the end when Homer Simpson said, "Can I get a game on this?" The man from G.R.A.M.P.A. I like how they're incorporating little snippets of previous episodes. For examples, in this episode, they included Grandpa and the Flying Hellfish. I didn't like the ending on this episode. It didn't make sense. I like the real video clip they added when senior citizens were watching TV. I like Joseph Cotton Candy. I wish we could get that for our games. And the last bar fighter, I like how they incorporated Krusty and Bumblebee Man into the episode. I like the variety of bars showcased in this episode. Essence's top 5 episodes are, in 1 through 5, Dad Feelings Limited, Treehouse of Horror, Do Pizza Bots Dream of Electric Guitars, WAD Goals, and Now Museum, Now You Don't. And CJ Brown says, The Simpsons season 32. I'm going to stick to those episodes I loved. Some of the seasons put me to sleep by the third act, or with the Christmas episode air when it wasn't Christmas time, or the most boring Treehouse of Horror episode ever. Listen, you can have Christmas episodes when it's not Christmas. That's what makes it fun. In order they were broadcast, which means enough content for multi-act event, not enough contact. I'm going to put... So CJ Brown has a lot to say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the show notes below us, this full comment, because there's a lot and it's a lot to read. But the standout episodes for CJ were I Carambas, The 7 Beer Itch, Podcast News, 3 Dreams Denied, Dad Feelings Limited, Diary Queen. I almost said Dairy Queen again. WAD Goals, Uncut Femmes, Burger Kings, and The Last Bar Fighter. So that's where we are with that. And then I had a poll up. I wanted you guys to rate season 32 of The Simpsons. I was curious to see where everybody thought this season fell, because Safi and I both agree that it was a good season. We really liked it. So the question was, how would you rate season 32 of The Simpsons? The responses were really great, the best season in a long time. Good, but not great. Another average season of The Simpsons. It was terrible, or didn't watch. So the good news is only 4.2% thought it was terrible. So those that watched, very few thought it was a terrible season. 19.4% thought it was another average season of The Simpsons. 22.4% said it was good but not great. 11.8% said really great, the best season in a long time. So we've got 34% think it was a good season. This one kind of surprised me though. 42.2% said they didn't watch. So out of people that played TSTO, 42% did not watch the latest season of The Simpsons. I thought that was interesting. Saf, do you have anything else you'd like to add on season 32 before we wrap this up?
I think part of that could also be the globalization of our viewers and addicts. We have a lot of people who just haven't had season 32 air in their country yet, so that could be a big factor. But I think a big chunk of that 42 will probably watch it at a later time. But yeah, I really recommend for those who haven't watched it, just because they think the quality of Simpsons is garbage now, really need to watch it, especially some of those episodes that you and I, like all of your top 6. Major Things wasn't one of my favorites, but they had a lot of good moments in it.
I just love Christmas.
So, but yeah, anything from my top 7 or Alyssa's top 6, I definitely recommend watching those. Even a couple other ones that Essence and CJ mentioned were good. Now Museum, Now You Don't, and The 3 Dreams. So there's a lot of good episodes this season. If you pick a couple, I mean, you're more than likely to watch a good episode. I'm kind of curious to see the bracket battle is going to be starting shortly, to see how far season 32 makes it in the bracket battle for the best season of The Simpsons, because I thought it was a really solid season. So yeah, we'll see.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap things up. So that'll do it from us and season 32 of The Simpsons. We'll have more season episode breakdowns once season 33 starts next year. Well, in September. It's still technically this year, but we'll have more of a breakdown once season 33 starts. But this has been fun. I really have enjoyed breaking down episodes of The Simpsons, because it gives me like a renewed purpose to watch, and then we talk about it, and it's a lot of fun to kind of debate back and forth, and what I find interesting you might not, and what you find interesting I might not. So it's fun. So So yeah, that'll do it from us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you guys next week with a new episode.